So today I wanted to talk to you ladies about something that we don't usually talk about with other women and rarely with our doctors. And it's basically pelvic floor. I'm going to discuss our core as well, but our pelvic floor, whether we've had a child or not, is greatly affected. They call it the 3 Gs, which is giving birth, gravity, and graying. So that affects our pelvic floor right down here. And a lot of it's just because we're not educated on it. We don't know exactly what's happening down there. Sometimes we ask the doctors and they don't always know. And for me, when I had issues after having my twins, I went and saw a pelvic floor physical therapist. And so there's a couple ladies in our community that deal with that, but it's not a very common practice to be like, oh yeah, go see a pelvic floor therapist. It took me 4 different people before I finally found somebody that specialized in pelvic floor issues. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that and kind of discuss that. Maybe that might open a door for you to maybe recognize something that's going on with you or not. And if it's not, great. If there is something going on, we call it the carriage down under, then we want to get that taken care of. The sooner the better. So basically with pelvic floor, I'm going to show you guys this picture. I've got some diagrams here to show you guys. So this is your pelvic floor, your bowel, your uterus, your bladder. And then down below, you have your undercarriage, which is right here. You have these muscles that are going to support you. We call that the undercarriage, a bunch of ligaments and muscles. And then you have your anus, vagina, and your urethra, okay? So these are all things that are affected by a weak pelvic floor, because when these muscles become weak and you have intra-abdominal pressure pushing down on this, it comes down and it weakens, and that's when you get prolapses and other issues, or leaking when you're sneezing, etc. So that is the pelvic floor right here, okay? So with the pelvic floor, I have this little chicken diagram right here. So inside we have our diaphragm. We basically have our powerhouse right here. And that word is used in Pilates, which is why I really like Pilates, because they focus on everything around here, which helps your pelvic floor and core. And so your powerhouse right here, your core, basically is your diaphragm that's going up and around over here, pelvic floor down under, transverse abdominis muscles, which are the deepest muscles on the inside, your quadricep, and then your multifidus, which is along the back right here. So all these in connection are going to help that pelvic floor and core and help you be preventing the sneezing, peeing when you sneeze is what they call it. So peasing, prolapse, pressure down under. So I like to use this little chicken. So inside, like I said, we have this powerhouse right here, and pressure has to go somewhere. Think of a tube of toothpaste, right? If that lid's on really tight and you're squeezing it, that toothpaste inside is moving up and down somewhere, right? Pressure has to go somewhere. So take that lid off, and now that toothpaste squirts out, okay? Inside of our bodies, okay, we don't have an actual way for things to leave our body that are within these muscle groups right here. So pressure has to go somewhere. So pressure can go up to the sides, and that's when you get hernias. Pressure can go down, and that's when you would get like this. You see this little chicken? You're gonna get a little prolapse coming out, right? Because it has to go somewhere, okay? So he's trying to lay his egg, he's having a baby, and he's pushing down, right? And it's coming out. Now, when you're having a child, you're birthing a baby, that makes more sense. When you're not, and you have this intra-abdominal pressure coming all around here, it's going somewhere, okay? It's putting pressure on your anus, okay? Your bladder, your bowel. So there's prolapses, there's things you can get going on inside, and if you're not paying attention to those things, they can get worse and actually lead to surgery. I had a friend of mine having symptoms after her third child was born, and I kept talking to her, trying to get things out of her, and she finally told me, she's like, yeah, when I go to the bathroom, I feel like I'm bearing down on something and like something's there. And it's been 6 months. I'm like, you need to go get checked. I set up an appointment, got in, and she had a level 4 prolapse, and she had to have surgery 2 weeks later. And I'm glad she listened to me. I wish she would have listened to me 6 months prior, because it probably wouldn't have gotten that bad. But there's things we can do as women to help heal that pelvic floor before we have surgery. Nobody likes to have surgery. So my point in telling you all this is that we have some exercises we can do daily. We can do them while we're driving, sitting, standing. There's all different ways we can practice this pelvic floor and core to help prevent further progression of prolapse or other issues that go along with that. So I'm going to just read a few things here because I don't want to mess up my facts. So during our lifetime, 1 in 11 women will need surgery for a pelvic floor disorder. Pelvic floor disorders usually result from a combination of factors. Having a baby, particularly if delivered vaginally, increases with each child. Obesity and overweight, hysterectomy, removal of the uterus, or another pelvic surgery procedure, because now you've weakened where those the support system is, and you've taken things out, and your body's internally shifting, so you get weak again. Aging, obviously, as we get older, gravity pulls things down, so they just the undercarriage gets weaker, obviously, so there's less support, tends to lead to leaking bladder, and obviously increase in abdominal pressure if frequent straining during bowel movements or lifting heavy objects with heavy weightlifting, even if you're constipated a lot. So it's really important to eat those fruits and veggies and stay regular, because that decreases that pressure internally. Then having pelvic pain symptoms. So not everyone's going to have any issues, but some people might. So talking to your doctor and getting help, the sooner the better, like I said, is the best advice I can give you. But things like pain during sex, pain after sex, when you're trying to have bowel movements, that affects you if you're having pain there. Pain in the lower abdomen area, pain in the vagina, the vulva, sometimes even your thighs. Right in here you can have pain there. Low back pain, very, very common. And another thing I want to touch on is called pelvic congestion syndrome. Now, it's not necessarily a pelvic floor disorder, but after my twins were born, I kept having this low abdominal pain for months, and I could not figure it out. I was doing my exercises. I'm a MUTU certified pro, so I was doing all my MUTU stuff. Being a trainer for over 20 years, I knew what I needed to do, but it just was dull, aching pain. My back was hurting. I was nursing my girls, not the best posture, not working out as much as I could with nursing 2 babies and having 3 kids, and life was crazy. And finally, around 9 months, I was fed up with it. I finally went and saw the doctor and finally got a referral for a physical therapist. Ended up seeing 3 other physical therapists who couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. Finally met somebody she's like, you need to do an ultrasound. And I ended up having to get 2 consults, but I had pelvic congestion syndrome. And so PCS is basically where you get a variety of varicose veins on your uterus, ovaries as well. And so people get varicose legs in their veins and you can see them. Well, you can't see it down here. So I had all these varicose veins all over, and that's what was causing me my pain. So I had to have a minor procedure, which went well, and within a week, I was 95% better. I was amazed. So if you're ever having a dull ache pain like that, it's actually the #1 cause of pelvic floor pain, but it's misdiagnosed 40% of the time. Another thing is leaking and incontinence. So a lot of women suffer from this, and it says 50% of women have this symptom, but it can also be corrected alone with just exercise rather than surgery. And women typically live this way for 6 years before they seek medical attention. And that's a long time. 6 years of dealing with peeing or leaking. I wouldn't want to wait 6 years. But some women, they're just embarrassed to go to the doctor about it and think it's just normal from having kids, which it's not. 30% of women start having symptoms sometimes 5 years after having a baby. And women who wear pads daily to help with leaking and incontinence spend on average $1,400 a year. That's a lot of money just on pads. So think of if you are leaking and you're spending money on pads, taking that money and just going to see the doctor might save you actually some money. And then the other thing is a lot of women leak, obviously because their pelvic floor is weak, so they're leaking because of that. But there are women who leak and they are too tight. And that means they're hypertonic. That means their bladder, and this is your bladder, right? But it's holding the pee, urethra coming out, right here in your undercarriage that supports that bladder. Sometimes those muscles can be too tight. So when it's too tight and it's flat instead of holding it and supporting it like this, that bladder now gets tilted, and so you're leaking. So there's actually a lot of runners, a lot of marathon runners that leak, and it's not because they're running and because they're weak. It's because they practice their Kegels and they're too tight. So they've got to let those supporting muscles, that undercarriage, do the job that it needs to do, so it knows when it needs to be tight and loose, and support it when it needs it and not support it when it doesn't need it. So you can train those muscles, and that's where a pelvic floor therapist is really useful in learning how to figure out which muscles are engaging properly and which ones are weak and which ones are too tight. So it's really important. I mean, nobody wants to be messed down there, but when you start seeing a physical therapist for pelvic floor and they specialize in that, there's so many little muscles inside of there and tendons, like just ligaments that are holding things in place. You'd be amazed how many support you down there that can actually be strengthened, just like your muscles, your bicep curl, your triceps. They're muscles. They can be strengthened to do the right job, which will help you down the road with controlling your bladder and the pressure that you have inside from either sneezing or lifting weights. There's a lot of different things you can do. I'm just trying to touch on some of them. So I'm hoping this is being helpful for you guys. So let's go on to the next thing. So how do you fix a weak pelvic floor, right? Down under, besides seeing a pelvic floor therapist, you can do exercises at home. The MUTU program that I'm a certified pro in has an online program, and I'm not trying to sell you guys something, but I'm just letting you guys know it's a specific program for pelvic floor and core. And it's $149, but you have access for life, and they give you workouts, the exercises, breathing techniques, some cardio in there, eating, healthy wellness. Like, it's a total body program, and for $150 for life, it's not bad if you do the program. And I did it. It's a 12-week online program, and it took me about 17 weeks to do it the first time, because I also suffered from severe Diastasis Recti, which is abdominal separation, and we'll talk about that shortly. So it took me 17 weeks the first time to do it, and then I did it a few months later, and it took me about 13 weeks that time, because I was also seeing a pelvic floor therapist as well. And to this day, I still use those exercises. Standing, laying down while I'm driving. I've got a 25-minute drive to just get my kids from school, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta do my breathing today. Oh, I'm gonna do my pelvic floor lifts. So it's a little bit different than Kegels, which is what we've been trained to do. It's just Kegels and squeeze and be tight. And the pelvic floor, because it engages so many other muscles, is more about lifting and drawing up that pelvic floor towards your heart. And we're gonna get there at the end with exercises. So I'm gonna go on to, so how to fix it? Eating right, eating clean, okay? Staying regular decreases that abdominal pressure going on to your anus when you're pooping. Do number 2. Breathing and engaging those correct muscles, which we're gonna get to the exercises on how to breathe and correctly do those exercises. Alignment, making sure your body's in alignment so things can do their job in the right places, okay? If you're out of alignment, or you're wearing heels a lot, or bad posture, things don't function the way they're supposed to be. So keeping that posture nice and tall, chest proud. Wearing flats, when you wear heels, that changes the alignment and tilts your pelvic floor actually forward, and that can actually cause issues down the road. So it's something small you can change, is going to flats. The other thing is, besides alignment, is your pelvis being in line and your rib cage being in alignment, okay? And then breathing properly. So when we're breathing, a lot of people tend to expand their belly out and breathe out, and we want to focus on the rib cage, separating and widening out this way and drawing that pelvic floor, that navel, up to the heart center. So like I said, we're going to get there, but those are just kind of the main things on how you can heal that pelvic floor. And then obviously, if you're not getting the help you need by those exercises and not being able to strengthen it, that's when I would say go see a pelvic floor therapist that can specifically design a program to help you figure out exactly what you need help with and which muscles to strengthen and how to engage muscles correctly. All right, next we're going to be talking about Diastasis Recti. I'm going to show you this picture right up here. So Diastasis Recti is the abdominal separation of your muscles. As you can see, that big gap right there. And then that's your linea alba right down the middle. So you've got these muscles that are on the sides, okay? Rectus abdominis, right over here. You've got your transverse abdominis, and then right in here, you've got your linea alba coming up just like this, okay? And then you also have your obliques on these sides as well. Awesome. Okay, so diastasis recti, like I said, is the abdominal separation of these muscles, okay? Separating. And our body's naturally gonna do that, especially when we're pregnant. It's meant to separate and then come back together. But sometimes it gets so stretched out that that fascia, that linea alba, which is this thin layer, doesn't come back together. And that's when you get this gap where you can put your fingers in and things just feel weird. And I had it with my first. It is hereditary. So if your mom had it or a sister had it, chances are you're probably gonna get it. And it is common for women to get it. The facts of diastasis recti is 100% of women get some form of diastasis recti during the 3rd trimester. But it can happen with any sustained intra-abdominal pressure, like bloating, constipation, poor posture, obesity, and heavy lifting. 40% heal naturally, but 60% are left with symptoms of a weak core and pelvic floor. So prevention is really key, like I said. And we talk about the 4R system to reach your goals safely and effectively. And the 4Rs is resting after you've had a baby, recovery, obviously dealing with what kind of vaginal or C-section you had, rehab by doing the exercises you need, and then retraining those muscles to engage properly so that they actually function at their highest level. So it can be healed. And this gap right here, like I said, this gap opens up, is actually from right here. This bone right here at the top, your xiphoid process right here between your ribs. And this goes all the way down to the top of your pubic bone, okay? So that's why it's really important. If this isn't functioning properly, you need to get it fixed, okay? So exercises is gonna be the first thing you're gonna do. Once again, go see a pelvic floor therapist. They can help with that diastasis recti. You can talk to me. I do specialize in this as well. And sometimes it leads to surgery, which nobody wants surgery, but there comes a point where it's just so thinned out, it will never come back together no matter how many exercises you do. Now, if you've got a gap there, but you're functional, meaning you can still do your exercises, you can still do your core and do certain things without you're getting a little bulging, because that's what you're gonna get. You're gonna get this coning shape, or a bread loaf is what they call it, where your insides are pushing out. Then sometimes that's where you're gonna need the surgery. So my story with me is, like I said, it's hereditary. I had it with my first, and being a trainer, I was able to heal that diastasis. I did have a small hernia, but it wasn't big enough to have any concerns. I was like, I'm good, you know. And my twins, I got really big, really fast. I had some issues with my twins in utero. I had to fly to California and have surgery at 20 weeks, which is super scary because I almost lost both my girls. And then because of that, I had high fluid levels. So I had high amniotic sacs. They were full of fluid with both babies, really, really high. So I had to have amniocentesis done, which is reducing. They took about 2 liters of fluid off one of my baby ASAC. And so I just had a lot of issues. So I got really big really fast. And so my stomach, right, just stretched right out. And I could tell. I'm like, oh, I have diastasis recti. I can already feel it. And I'm only 20 weeks along. And then I got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just went straight out with my girls. And it just separated. So after they were born, I could tell right away. I was like, oh, and I had to have a C-section, which didn't help. And it was hard regaining that core strength. I really, really struggled, but I could literally feel my insides. I could see my insides. If I were to lay on my stomach, lay on my back and look at my stomach, you could literally see my intestines moving around because there was no protection anymore on my organs. And I did the MUTU, which it helped. I still needed help. And so I did the pelvic floor therapist, did that for a couple months, went back to the MUTU. And I got to the point where it wasn't functional. I was still coning. I was able to control most of it, but I wasn't functional, meaning I was still having pain and I was still having issues, even though I had done all this training for like a year and a half just on my core and pelvic floor. And so I ended up having to have surgery to fix that. So I had muscle repair where they fixed it from the top down to my pubic bone. and they stitched those muscles back together, and I actually had 2 hernias that were repaired. So I had the original umbilical hernia, which got worse. I ended up with another hernia right over here, and so they fixed that all. I'm glad they did, because I feel like I'm more functional now. Did I want to have the surgery? No. Was it necessary for me to be functional? Yes, because by not getting that fixed, it would lead to other problems down the road. So back to the Diastasis Recti. Symptoms of this is backaches, stomach pain in the front. So you got your back pain, stomach in the front. You're still going to feel pressure down under because you don't have the support, this corset, to hold things in. So things start to give way, they start to fall down, gravity pulls down, and that puts more pressure down here. Okay, so that's where it's really important that you're focusing not just on your pelvic floor and not just doing Kegels, but also your core. This powerhouse needs to be functional. So can we prevent diastasis recti from happening? Yes and no. Can you do exercises before you get pregnant? Yes. Can you do exercises while you're pregnant? Yes. Can you do them shortly after you deliver? Yes. If you've never had a baby, can you still get diastasis? Yes. Any kind of intra-abdominal pressure, obesity, constipation, being overweight can cause diastasis recti. There's even guys that get diastasis recti, okay? So this is where, as women, we need to take time for ourselves. And great, go run. Great, go do your elliptical, or go swimming, or go walking. That's all good. But if you don't have a solid foundation and support system, right, you're down under, it's only going to get weaker if we don't learn the correct exercises. Okay, so we're going to talk about some exercises that you can do to help that pelvic floor and core. All right, so I want you to imagine that you have a clock here. Right up here at your sternum, 12 o'clock. Pubic bone right here, 6 o'clock. Hip to hip, 3 o'clock and 6 o'clock, okay? So when you're doing your inhaling, putting your tongue at the roof of your mouth actually helps you relax down under. I know it sounds weird, but there's actual connections there with your mouth being relaxed and your jaw being relaxed and being relaxed down under in your pelvic floor. So you're gonna do a nice big inhale through that nose. As you do that, relaxing everything, okay? Widening that rib cage out, so rather than belly breathing, sticking that stomach out, okay? Think of widening this rib cage and spreading it out this way, filling up this whole diaphragm, this whole core, with air, expanding it, okay? So nice big inhale. And then as you exhale, breathing through your mouth, you're gonna draw number 6 up to 12. That pelvic floor, draw your navel to heart. Imagine that like an elevator. You're lifting it up like this, okay? Kegels, you just squeeze, okay? We don't want to just squeeze. We want you to draw it up, lift, pelvic floor muscles coming up, okay? Then your hips are going to be coming from 6 to 9, engaging and bringing those hips together, okay? So nice big inhale, relax. Exhale, navel to spine, hips together and engage. And do it one more time. Nice big inhale through your nose. Exhale, drawing that navel up to heart, drawing those hips in together. Relax. So you can do these, like I said, standing, sitting, driving in a car, laying down, hands and knees. It's actually really good to practice this in a variety of positions, because obviously we're not just standing all the time. So when you strength train, when you're standing, great, but when you move forward, it changes the angle, right? So think of that pelvic floor. Just like all these other muscles in your body, you gotta work them at all different angles and directions, okay? So you can do the same thing on your hands and knees. Nice big inhale. Exhale. Good. If you're having a hard time feeling that pelvic floor, grab a ball, place it between your legs and sit on it, down under, and you wanna feel that pressure, okay, on the pelvic floor. And then practice kind of grunting and kind of pushing down, okay? And then drying up and squeezing up. And sometimes just having something put pressure on it right there helps you engage and make that brain muscle connection, okay? So you're relaxing, pushing down, not too hard, you just want to feel how you're pushing down and then lifting up. And think of lifting that pelvic floor away from that ball and up, okay? All right. So I'm going to show you guys one more time with my stomach. showing you the belly button drying up. And that's really key. A lot of trainers will say, suck your navel into spine, draw it straight back, like button it back to your spine. You don't want the motion going back, okay? You want the motion going up, right? You want to leave that pressure, start strengthening those muscles up, okay? So I'm gonna do the same thing that you guys are doing, okay? I just want you to watch. This is just normal breathing, okay? Now, if I focus on it, you're gonna see my core engage a little bit more, okay? So nice big inhale, relax. Exhale. Could you see how my belly button went towards my heart? One more time. So nice big inhale. Exhale, drying up, engaging, and squeezing those hips together. That's what we want to see. It doesn't matter whether or not you're overweight, whether you have a flat stomach or not. It doesn't matter. Anyone can learn, okay, and train their muscles to properly engage in that motion, okay? So when I'm driving to get my kids from school, I'm sitting there and I'll do 10, 15 of these at a time. You may start off only being able to do maybe 2 or 3, and it's tiring, okay? But just like any muscle group, you gotta train it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets, okay? So start off with maybe 3 to 5 each day, laying on your back, sitting, standing, and then you can just add a couple more. And then within a few weeks, you might be up to 10 to 15 reps, no problem. But you'll start feeling your posture better, less back pain while you're exercising, whether you're running, lifting weights, walking, it doesn't matter. You'll start paying more attention to engaging that pelvic floor and your core muscles, and you'll notice a difference. All right, so we're gonna go to our first exercise, just laying on your back. Grab a ball, if you have one. If not, that's okay, but if you have a ball, something you could squeeze, even a pillow works. You're gonna put it between your knees, okay? And basically what we're doing here is palms are gonna be down, just relaxing. You're gonna do that nice big inhale, relaxing everything. And as you exhale, you're gonna squeeze those thighs together and draw that navel up to heart, bringing those hips together and squeeze for 5 counts. 3, 2, 1, release, nice big inhale. And exhale. Navel to heart, hips together, squeezing those inner thighs. And release. Let's go one more time, inhale. Exhale. Good. All right, release the ball. Hands down by their sides. These are going to be our heel drops. So you're going to lift one foot up, 90 degrees. Nice big inhale, relax. As you exhale, lower that leg down. And you're trying to do this even though it's opposing. Draw that navel to heart, hips together, engage, and lift it up. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Let's switch legs and do 3 on that side. Nice big inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Release. Keeping those palms down. We're going to do a bridge. So we're going to lift it up 1 vertebrae at a time. So nice big inhale. Relax. Exhale. Engage that core, navel to heart, hips drawn in. Lift it up 1 vertebrae at a time. Squeeze at the top. You can do another inhale at the top, and then exhale, rolling it down. Nice big inhale. Exhale, engage. Inhale at the top, and exhale. Inhale. One more time. Nice big inhale. Exhale. Inhale at the top, and exhale. So those are 3 simple exercises that can teach you how to engage that core properly and your pelvic floor. And you'll notice as you do them more, they will get easier, but it'll make you more conscientious of your workouts, especially when you are doing core exercises, that you're like, oh, I'm not breathing right, I'm not engaging properly. So that does take time and practice. So the last thing I want to share with you guys is something called the MUTU breath and release. And this is something you can do daily, whenever you feel like you need just de-stress, have lots of tension, you're just frustrated, just take a few minutes. And this is where that mental mindset comes in, meditation as well, and helps just calm you down and relax you. Because if you're carrying tension here and here and here, things just start getting tight and you start bottling things up. So this is a really good exercise to release tension down under and in your core. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take a few minutes that you have time to do this. Find an area, you can dim the lights, turn the lights off, do it in the dark, and just listen to it and practice this technique. And in a few weeks, you're going to notice things are better, things are easier. You can find time to focus for yourself, and you'll need that clarity, and you'll be like, hey, I need to go do this, and just give me 5 minutes, kids, or give me 5 minutes, honey, or work, I need a 5-minute break, and you can do this, okay? So go ahead and find a place that's comfortable for you, laying flat on your back, pillows underneath your legs if you want to, laying in your bed, it doesn't matter. Just find a spot where you have about 5 minutes of peace and quiet. So I'll let you take time to go do that, and then I'm going to just read the script. I'll let you take time to go find a spot to do that, and then I'm going to just read the script, just because I really like how it's worded. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. So close your eyes, relax your shoulders. Take a breath in, down, and low to the back of your rib cage. Feel your rib cage and belly expand gently outwards, and breathe out. Take a couple more deep breaths, simply being aware of your ribs opening and your chest opening outwards as you inhale. Now breathe out through pursed lips. As you exhale, draw your belly button very gently up towards your heart. Imagine there is a thread across the front of your hips attached to your hip bones. Now draw these two ends towards each other. Inhale and relax everything. Exhale gently again and feel your abdomen draw gently inwards and upwards towards your heart. Inhale and let the muscles go. Now exhale, and this time focus on your pelvic floor, drawing and lifting upwards as if you're picking up a small grape with your vagina. I know it's weird, but it works. Inhale and release your pelvic floor muscles. Imagine a flower opening, or like you're kissing the surface you're sitting on, keeping those shoulders down and relaxed. Exhale again and focus on your back passage this time, drawing up and in as if you're trying not to pass gas. Inhale fully into your ribs again and release the pelvic floor muscles. Exhale and draw upwards again, back, middle, and at the front. Gently lift your perineum, the pelvic floor, away from the surface you're sitting on. Don't tuck your backside under as you do this. Stay neutral and on your sits bones. Breathe in and relax. Consciously release any tension in your shoulders, your abs, and especially in your pelvic floor. You must learn to let go. Exhale and be mindful of both the gentle drawing in of your abs and the gentle drawing up of your pelvic floor. These muscles work together. They're all connected. Your pelvis shouldn't be moving. So if you find yourself rocking or tilting back and forth as you do this, focus on keeping your pelvis neutral as the work goes on inside. 2 more breaths, relaxing fully on the inhale, gently engaging pelvic floor and your deep core on the exhale. Open your eyes, take your focus away from your muscles, and just breathe normally for a couple of breaths. You're now connected. I hope as you do this exercise that you find that brain to heart to pelvic floor connection, and your inner self is blooming. We like to think of it as a flower, and it's opening up. And taking this 5 minutes to do this every day if you can will really help your mental mindset, give you that clarity. It'll help you focus on what's important. And just taking 5 minutes for yourself in general, you deserve it. So I hope this helps you ladies. Let me know if you guys have any questions, and thank you very much.